Hey everybody, welcome back to another Your Bold Voice. Wait, listen up. Season 1. This is the last episode, sort of, because I have a bonus episode, which is next week, and it's going to be my dear friend Kristen Harcourt, who is my first guest, is going to be interviewing me, because I get asked a lot around Bold Voice and my story and stuff. So we're going to do that, but I'm ending, let's be legitimate here. I'm ending the season with one of my most dearest friends, Mildred. And Mildred she's Madam Mildred of the UK. She's like a movie star. Everybody knows her. Everyone knows her because she's doing what she teaches. She walks the walks. But again, welcome back to another Your Bold Voice. This is where I'm showcasing women that are comfort zone busting, risk taking. They're fascinating females that are owning their bold voice on their terms. And every week I say, oh my God, my guest, but I get to say my guest, because this is my biased opinion. They're my guests, and these women are magnificent. So without much further ado, let me introduce Madam. I'm going to call her today Madam Mildred, because that's we have nicknames for each other that we do in the background here. But so Mildred Talabi specializes in helping women build visible and profitable businesses on LinkedIn through personal branding and social selling. Mildred has over a decade of experience in this arena, stemming from her previous career in journalism, PR, and communications, alongside with many entrepreneurial ventures. Mildred has authored 4 books to date, including her popular LinkedIn playbook, Start Being Visible. If you have not gotten that book, ladies and gentlemen, order that book, Start Being Visible. I haven't even read all the way through it. It's like I'm milling it like a piece of caramel in my mouth. I read a few pages and go, ooh, and then I come back. And anyways, Mildred, before we jump in, I just want to acknowledge everybody that is showing up today for this show. So thank you very much. I'm going to focus on Mildred. I say this every week. I'm going to focus on my guests. I'm not going to pause when I see you all popping in here. So real quickly, thank you, everybody. I see a few of you jumping on this morning for joining us. I am not ignoring you. But in order for Mildred and I, knowing that if you are here, even if you're over on LinkedIn and watching, you need to put a comment in, and this way we will know you're there. Otherwise, we don't know you're there. So if you want to say good morning, say hello, or peace out, rock on, whatever, it's your choice. Mildred.
Kim.
Oh, okay, wait a minute. Let me sing your praises. All right. And, and I'm very transparent. I've got Mildred's bio here, and I do this with all my guests because I don't mess around with people's bios because to me, I think it's a disrespect. But helping women build visible and profitable businesses. I can't remember how you and I became connected on LinkedIn, but it was last year. It's been maybe not quite a year yet. And I started following you and engaging and watching. And last fall, something told me to reach out to you and say, SOS, I need help here on LinkedIn. I was in the middle of, like the rest of the world, I was in the middle of a pandemic.
Of course.
And my business was tanking and going down. And I knew that LinkedIn was a place where I had to leverage and ramp it up. So I'm a kind of person. I'm not a do-it-yourselfer. Because if it's I go into do-it-yourselfer, guess what? I'd still be sitting here. So Mildred and I joined forces. I hired Mildred. And I'm going to tell you right now, she has taught me how to have a profitable business on LinkedIn. And between her and my other coach, this mastermind that I was in, the two of them have really taken my investments and we've flipped it around. I think what I invested, I'm up to 10 returns, at least 10 times returns on my investment. It's huge. And so I hold, not just because of that, but I just hold Mildred in very high regard. So Mildred, how did you step out of corporate and into your business?
Kim. Well, I have to address you by your proper name that I call you. Well, I call you Lady Kim, and you always correct me and say Queen Kim.
Queen with Hey, it's
Queen
coming.
with a K.
It's coming from all of you over there in the UK. Call me Queen Kim. So let's get it right.
All right, so Queen Kim, I am so happy to be here with you today. Awesome. And I think how we met on LinkedIn, I remember you were stalking me for a while on my videos, right? You kept popping up on my videos and leaving mysterious comments. I'm like, who is this Kim woman? And then one day you're like, okay, we need to talk, you know? And the rest, as they say, is history. So ladies, visibility. Get visible and get on video. So that's a free tip for you straight away. So how did I leave corporate and get into what I'm doing today? Well, I never actually consider myself a corporate person because my background is I trained as a journalist and I worked in the media for a bit. So I guess in a little bit of that, I went corporate, but I quickly realized in the newspaper industry, because that's where one of the places I worked was The Guardian, which is like one of the big broadsheets here. It's changed a lot. Internet's destroyed everything in terms of newspaper industry. But at the time, it was quite a corporate environment. And I went into there and it wasn't a good fit for me, newspaper wise. And I realized that what I really love, because I'm a writer at heart, and I did my degree was in creative writing and film studies. I like to express myself creatively through writing. So newspaper writing was never it for me. So I went into magazine writing instead and editing. Long story short, my career then went from kind of journalism, media as a journalist into communications and later PR. But I always had my business on the side because part of me wanted that freedom, and also it gave me an avenue to put out my personal brand amongst all the things that I did. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into my career.
So tell me some of these bold moves that you did when you stepped from corporate. Because I remember those steps like they happened for me yesterday, and that happened over 20 years ago for me. Stepping from that corporate. What did it take for you to take those steps? And at that time, were you and Mel married when you guys did that, or were you single when you did that? And this all happened prior to having kids or with kids and all that good stuff.
Okay.
I want your kids. I want your girls. So.
Oh yeah. So our little girls, 5 and 6. So no, we were not married, and Malika and I have been together a very long time, 21 years. It's our dating anniversary on Sunday, actually, 21 years, 14 years married in September. So in terms of how I made the transition, one of the things that I always kind of did. Sorry, my daughter's looking for her shoes in the middle of the interview.
It's not a problem.
I'm trying to use one hand to usher her back towards the door. Maybe you wear the one at the door, please. Shh, at the door. So yeah. So anyway, completely breaking my chain of thought. Thank you, dear daughter. So in terms of what happened, so no, I've always had this thing. I used to call it itchy feet syndrome, right? So I never wanted to be fully tied down to anything. So I never did like a 9 to 5 days a week, every day. That just didn't suit me. It didn't suit my personality or my creativity. So even when I worked, I always tried to make sure I had at least one day off to pursue my own things. And that was wherever it would lead me, my own passions, my own vocation. So I doing that alongside the way. So that one day off while I was working was that one day that I used to do things like start my business on the side and explore other interests, which eventually helped me to come out of the corporate world and into entrepreneurialism full time. So it was a long process though. It was about 12, 13 years doing it.
I like that though. That you always you would negotiate that one day. You were never that 9 to 5 complete. I've never heard the expression itchy feet. I had a achy breaky heart being in corporate. I felt like a caged animal when I was in corporate. But I like that you always took that one day to see where that creativity led you, and working towards that business, and it was a process. I really want to get that across, that it's a process. I've heard women say, "Oh, yeah, I went to work one day at corporate. I mean, great, successful jobs," and they're like, quit, and the next day they go jump and start their business. Okay, Does that work for some people? Sure. Would I recommend that as I have my business coaching hat on for everybody? No, 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 no. It's have that plan of action while you still have that income coming in so you can flip it around and reinvest into the growth, or your personal growth and your professional development of the business. So
absolutely. And I'll tell you something about that as well, Kim. When you're hungry, you can't make clear business decisions. You cannot make clear business decisions because this wasn't actually, so 2 years ago, or not 2 years ago, 18 months ago is when I went full time fully again. But the first time I did was about 10 years ago, and that lasted about 8 months. So I was like, okay, I've had enough of work. And I was working communications for a housing at the time. I was like, I had enough of work. I'm leaving. I'm going to do my own thing because I am an entrepreneur, and we take risks and all of that good stuff, right? So I left the job, and the funny thing is they had this really great farewell party for me. And the CEO of the organization, like 300 plus people in the organization, she was at my leaving party. And she was like, oh, we have people leave all the time to go to other jobs, but we've never had anyone leave to start their own business. So Mildred, we are so proud of you. We wish you the best and all of that. And I was like, yay. 8 months later, I went back to work. Not the same firm, but I went back to work somewhere else because that first taste of going full-time in entrepreneurism as an entrepreneur, it wasn't what I thought it would be. It was highs and lows. It was income in, income out, all of that kind of stuff. And it wasn't nice. And it really affected the way I made my business decisions, being in that place where it's like, okay, how much am I going to earn this month? Okay. And clients can sense that when you have that need, it's off-putting to people. So no, I would definitely not recommend that anybody just make that jump and hope for the best. Have an exit plan. Plan your way out.
Yes, absolutely. Always have an exit plan. And you're right. When you are hungry, we make those decisions. It's like there's another person in my home, aka my husband. He'll say, when we are desperate, we make desperate decisions. So it's having those plans. So listen to me. I'm preaching having those plans, and Mildred knows behind the scenes I'm struggling with plans of content, but her and I are going to get to it this Friday. I'm so ready, open, well, and ready to rock and roll with that. But that's a whole other conversation. But yes, when someone told me, oh God, about 10 years ago when I stepped into the online, my online business, when I was launching online business, this woman told me, she goes, every single day, when we have our own businesses, we are forced in the backyard to look at our own doo-doo, so to speak. And I looked at her and I went, well, yeah, I go out in the backyard and I've got dogs. I've got to clean up the yard. But then I sat with it for a minute and I went, she's so right. She was so right. When we have our own business, we are forced to face, whether we are putting out a product, it's us. We're the ones that are driving it. We own the business. Whether we have a team, it's still us. We own the business. Whether someone says yes to us or no to us, there's so much involved to owning a business. And when I, many years into my fitness business, which was my first business, I remember going through my first divorce, and I bought a home. I have 3 labs. Okay, there were no children. I'm taking the labs, the dogs with me, right? And my fitness business was like this. Because I was training very, very predominant wealthy people where they had homes in other areas for the wintertime. They leave. And, I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. Now I got a mortgage. I got to feed 3 dogs. I stepped back into corporate, took the business and ran it early mornings and evenings and on the weekends until I get ahead of myself. So same thing. I mean, we do what we have to do to be able to stay in our business. But here's the thing, and you and I were just talking about this last week, is, so many women say, you know what, look, I want to charge for my 90-day program $3,000. Let's just say, okay, $3,000. All right. I'm thumbs up with my clients. Rock on, you need to. But when you turn around and say, I don't have $50 to invest, how can you expect others to invest that kind of money in you when you're not investing? Now, don't go out there and break the bank, everybody that's listening, please. I'm not a proponent of that, but it's taking those steps and doing what you have to do to arrive to that. So, Mildred, How do you live without wearing the suit of imposter syndrome or that perfectionism, so that your beautiful, bold voice is constantly coming through?
Wow, wow, wow. Okay, so one of my characteristics, one of my attributes is that I am excellent, you know, and I say this, bravely, boldly, whatever kind of thing. Yes, there's nothing around it. It's just me. I like to do things at a level of excellence. And sometimes that can get confused with perfectionism, so I really see the difference between doing your very best and doing something perfectly. Perfectly, we cannot achieve most of the time. But what we can achieve all the time is doing our very best, doing things at an excellent level. And that's kind of where I aim at. I always aim to do things excellently. So I ask myself, did you do this excellently? Great. Was it done perfectly? No. But was it excellent? Yes. Tick, we move on. So I kind of this may not be the popular answer because I know a lot of women struggle with imposter syndrome, but it's not something that I experience in that way because of the fact that what I do experience though, because I'm a bit of a high achiever and I set goals all the time and I want to kind of get this here, get this then. What I do experience is the disappointment of not meeting my grand goals, so and this feeling of wanting to be more, knowing that there's more of me, but I'm not playing at that level of more. I experience that a lot. And I don't know if anybody can relate to that. But with the whole imposter syndrome thing, I find that as you grow into things and you organically grow, it gives you the confidence to own what you're becoming. And that's how it worked for me. So in my business, like I don't claim to be anything that I'm not. I'm not good. I don't teach people how to do a 6-figure, 7-figure business, all of that, because I am growing into that stuff. And as long as I'm doing the things that I'm teaching people about, then the imposter syndrome goes away because it's like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm talking about. But sometimes when we try to step into things that are way above us, sometimes that can trigger imposter syndrome. And that's not to say that you don't go for things that are above you, because absolutely reach for those goals, but know where, not a limit, know where your strengths are and play to your strengths and play last to your strength, but don't fake it until you make it. I've never been a fan of that whole kind of fake it until you make it, because I really feel like that's what triggers imposter syndrome for a lot of people, where you're pretending to be something that you're not. So I don't know if that answered your question, but that's kind of how I deal with it. I don't deal with imposter syndrome in that sense, because I just show up as me. And it's like, this is Mildred. You take it or you leave it. That's pretty much it,
Imposter syndrome, not the imposter syndrome. In fact, I was just reading before the show this morning, someone posted on LinkedIn, 75% of women experience imposter syndrome. It doesn't matter what level they are in their careers or in their businesses. They could be a 6-figure income business-driven earner, or they could be, real high-end up in their corporate. And the more successful will become, that imposter syndrome shows up. However, when it shows up, we want it to be like this, as opposed to like the big ugly monster, or the hag in the attic, the inner critic. And it's interesting, and men don't really go through this. The more successful they become. This was this post on LinkedIn. I loved it. But with faking it until you make it, that took me down. That made me sick. I mean, and that's part of my story, where I fell asleep at a major intersection. I point over this way because it's not far from my home. That faking it until you make it, and I still hear women walking, oh, I'm just going to fake it until I make it. I want everybody on here today listening. If you are faking it until you make it, you're going to attract the fake BS. You're going to put out the BS. And you will miss the hit of that human connection, which we're all striving for, aka Brene Brown. just finished a book by hers, is at the end of the day, we all want to be connected. And this is who I am, just who I am. And it's interesting, Mildred, because what you are growing into is what you're teaching. And same thing, I teach women, how to really own their voices. And part of my business is that signature keynote, and to always be prepared, even if it's a 15 minutes so that you can step in. Well, I've given signature keynotes. I've given them, but I'm leveling how I'm presenting myself up. And let me tell you, that does bring on a little bit of those clammy palms, but I'm showing up so I can be better, so I can mentor and lead and coach. And the same thing with you and I. That's probably why you and I are so strongly connected. We started from a LinkedIn to a relationship, and now it's WhatsApps, and you and I are back and forth and laughing and having fun. You've become a very strong instrumental woman in my life, very strong. I mean, and I've shared this, and I'll share this again. When I was working with Mildred, I was revamping the business, and I was doing this 6-week launch, and she knew exactly what had to be done and I just was like, oh, and boy, there were 6 a.m. mornings where I'd show up as, of course, still in my pajamas because it's 6 a.m. and just like, no, man, this is bringing out the worst in me. And then on top of all of that is she sat along through me with my father going into the hospital and my father passing, and you were right there, right by my side, when I couldn't even barely even open up my lips to even have to have a conversation. So I'm so grateful for that. You didn't just stay in that coaching head. No, come on, Kim, back to business. You really met me to where I'm at, which is a very good dear friend and a very good coach that can do that.
Oh, thank you, Kim.
I use that a lot, and I see a lot of the comments coming in, and being vulnerable is a key to being authentic. And I agree with Lisa. And again, I'm a Brene Brown fan. Is that vulnerability leads us to that authenticity? And I think it was you, Mildred, that said to me, the word authentic and that A word is used a lot.
Yeah.
But you said to me, but when you use it, Kim, boy, and I'm paraphrasing, it's a really landing of that word. And I believe it was you that said to me a while back. It is thrown around a lot. So
I want to, before you move on, because Wendy said something, and hello everybody that's on. You guys are awesome. Chris, Franz, even where I love you guys. Wendy said something I totally agree with, and it kind of relates to, she said about the imposter syndrome, not feeling imposter syndrome because I've gotten to know my authentic self, where I shine on my purpose. I think that is also true for me. Yeah. It's that whole idea of when you're walking in your purpose of this is what I'm supposed to be doing right now. It really helps to banish imposter syndrome. And I feel like I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm walking in my purpose. There's a whole lot more. There's a whole lot more purpose out there. You ain't even seen nothing yet but what Mildred's going to be walking in. But right now, I am walking in my purpose. So I own it. It's like the jacket fits me. And I'll give you a quick example, actually. I was reminded of this as you're asking me the question. But early on in my journalism and in my media journey, I remember one of my early jobs, I was editorial assistant at a magazine. And that's kind of somebody who supports the editor. Now, within 3 months of that job, I was promoted to assistant editor. So I was given responsibility for like managing the content, pulling things together, even kind of hiring writers and, putting together the whole program. I was 21 years old at the time, and a lot of the people that I was managing were a lot older than me. And I think that's where I really felt imposter syndrome big time, because I was like, and I even begged my boss not to tell anyone my age, because I felt like they wouldn't respect me if they knew I was so young. But so it's like, so yeah, that was an experience. I was walking in something that I was capable of, but it was bigger than me, and I eventually grew into the role and the imposter syndrome went away. But yeah, that just reminded me of that story. I'm like, actually, that was a time where it was like, oh my God, Mildred, any day now they're gonna discover you're 21 and they're not gonna listen to you because you're just a kid. What do you know about doing a magazine? So we all get it, and me too. I've had it too. But yeah.
Yeah, we do. It's and it's that piece again. My business, of course, is owning your bold voice. It's she speaks, her bold voice speaks. It's all around the bold voice. And here's the deal, ladies. If you get that one little angst of having to pull back because that inner critic, that hag in the attic, is pulling the conductor seats, imposter syndrome, lack of confidence, second guess yourself of the worth and all that. Just take a moment and breathe and step back and ask yourself, what do I need right now in this moment? And work through all those feels and the sensations. Don't continue to, oh my God, I'm nervous, I'm fearful of speaking. The nerves and the fear it just gets bigger. It gets large. It's like feeding spinach to Popeye. You're feeding spinach to your inner critic. It gets bigger as opposed to the sensations and the feelings, because we can be scared and excited at the same time. So it's embracing all of that and being able to move through, and things like that. And by the way, Francie wrote on here, amen, Kim, not BS. And I'm like, Francie, hey, my initials, KBS. And it's not Kim bullshit. It's Kim beautiful self, which hopefully I spread all that on all of you. But
you do.
I try. I try. I love it. All right. Share with me those moments, those huge, scary moments that you've had to work through and overcome, like with your health, with all of that you have really, that I look at you, Mildred, and I think that did not happen. That stuff did not happen. No way. Not to minimize, not to shrink, not to pull away, but it's like, wow, the stuff you have overcome.
Oh God, yeah. Funnily enough, I was talking to my husband Malachi about that today, and I was like, sometimes I forget, not that I forget that I went through it, but it feels like a completely different Mildred. So for those who don't know what we're on about, so in September, coming up in September, will be my 2-year anniversary of being brain tumor free. So 2 years ago, thank you. I'm actually going to do a tough mudder, like a challenge mud thing to celebrate, to raise money. I will be telling you about it soon. But anyway, so 2 years ago, 18 months ago, I started experiencing weird headaches out of nowhere, just like intense headaches. And it went on for several months, went to everything, specialist, private, NHS, nothing. Nobody was telling me anything. And then eventually, one day I was on my way to work. September the 2nd was the date in 2019, on my way to work, and I was driving on a motorway. Suddenly I couldn't see, I'm driving, the cars are coming at me and I could only see them like after they passed. And it was just, everything was a blur. Ended up getting to work at the time in a car park and just completely passing out, and woke up in hospital. So, and they said, okay, Mildred, we found something in your head and we don't know what it is, but it looks pretty serious. So we're going to fly you over to London. I was in Surrey at this, let's say the suburbs of my American friends, and we're going to fly you over to London at the specialist hospital because we need to have a closer look at this. So I get flown over to the hospital, ambulance. I get taken over to the hospital. And they tell me at the end of the day, they're like, Mildred, we found a brain tumor, so there is a tumor at the back of your head. So, and it's like, what? That was my first reaction, because this is the kind of stuff that you hear happens to other people, but never you, and it's like, the long story short of it is I ended up in September, that month of September, I ended up in hospital for practically the entire month. And this was the same month that my oldest daughter was starting school. We'd planned everything. I was going to be taking her to school. I was going to do her hair, all of that. And I just ended up in hospital with this random brain tumor, 3 days of intensive care. And after I came out of hospital and I started recovery, it took another about 3 months before I could fully walk again, and then I started running and jogging, and thank God, praise God, I'm practically 95.9% healed, like everything is back to normal. And this is just within 18 months. In fact, every time I go back to the hospital, they're like, your recovery has been amazing. I'm like, thank you, Jesus. So that was a major obviously it was a major ordeal because it kind of threw everything. You make all these plans, and never in your plans do you imagine a brain tumor. Never in your plans do you imagine that you're going to miss your daughter's first day at school, and the whole month after that your husband's going to have to learn to do hair, to cope with the two girls, that you're going to have to learn to walk again, and black out every minute, all of that kind of stuff, but it was a process of recovery. And in that process, one of the things that really happened for me that was so beautiful, because one, it helped me to see exactly the kind of lifestyle that I wanted to live. Because even though me and Malachi, we deliberately had always made plans to kind of live a life now, and I really believe that we should live a life today of retirement, semi-retirement. Don't wait until you're old or you've worked for 40 years to retire. Like, start living the life you want today, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, but that kind of really gave me like this whole picture of, this is the kind of life that I want to have. This is the freedom that I need to have in my work life. So to see my family, income wise, all of that became crystal clear after that whole experience. And then another beautiful thing that happened was like, everybody gathered around me in a way that I never expected. Friends, families, neighbors. I literally had neighbors walking me down the road because I couldn't walk for a bit. I was always in danger of passing out and fainting. So like, the whole love and community support that I felt at that time was just amazing. So I am so blessed to be here. I am so grateful to be here, but it just kind of, it gives me this, like, it didn't define me, like the whole brain tumor experience, it didn't define me, but it is a part of my story. I don't tell that often, simply for that reason, because it's not like a big defining moment for me, but it was a big moment, and it is a big moment, and one that I'm going to remember every year that I am brain tumor free, like in September the 2nd. So yeah, so these are the challenges that, because often you look at people and you don't know their story. Looking at me, you would never know that, you would never know that until I tell you. So this is why it's important for us to want to start showing up and being visible and telling our stories, because for somebody else who's going through this, and in fact, about a year after I recovered, one of my neighbors, it turned out that his wife had a similar incident. She had a stroke and she had a brain injury. So I was able to go over there and say to him, look, a year ago, I was in intensive care with wires all over me, and look at me today. So it gave them hope. And this is what happens when we share our story. We give people hope, so yeah. So I don't even know where we're going to. I feel like we're going to church with this kid, but yeah, I hope it gives somebody hope that whatever you go through, you can overcome it,
It's so imperative to be sharing our stories, because it's like you said, it provides hope, and it also too helps us. It shows that we're human. I mean, we're on screens and we're inside of cars driving down the street. It's that human experience, and it also helps us connect with others. And by the way, and again, I just literally this morning finished one of Brené Brown's book that I was reading, and it's that when we are lack of connection, disconnected from ourselves, hence in turn, then we're disconnected to everything else outside of us, we get those feelings of being alone. And those are some crappy feelings, because we are human beings. We're not meant to be living on deserted islands. We're like pack animals, so to speak. We are meant to be together, whether we're introverted or extroverted. I hate all those labels. Let's just lay it down. But we are a label society, but we are meant to be connected and together. What do you take away from that experience?
Yeah, I think what you're saying about the connectedness, it was never as vivid to me as during that period. It was just so, I honestly cannot describe enough just how beautiful it was to see everybody come together on my behalf, like that. It was so amazing. We had people bringing my husband food, because he was left with two little girls at the time. They're 3 and, well, how old is it? 3 and 4. So, and there's him, and I'm in hospital. And then when I did come back from hospital, I couldn't even function properly as a mom for quite a while, so it was just that the takeaways is, one, that whole community thing you speak of, that whole love that binds us as human beings, it's like it's beyond race, it's beyond age, it's beyond all kinds of bad. I had all sorts of people literally in my life, you know, at that time. So that was the one thing. And as I said, it's this whole idea of like literally live your life today. Like, don't wait for tomorrow to live your life, because you don't know what tomorrow holds. No, but nobody knows. None of us. I would never in a million years have thought that would be in my future, you know, brain tumor. But there it was. So you don't know what's around tomorrow. If you're stuck in a job that you hate, leave it. I'm gonna have to say this, leave it, you know, because life is too short. Like, yes, have your exit plan, but make a plan to exit. You know, because now is the time to start living the life that you want. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Now. So yeah, those are just some of my key takeaways from it. But yeah, it was a bad experience, but it was a good experience in terms of all that came out of it was just priceless.
Yeah, I totally agree. You know, with all of that, you know, one of the things that when I'm hearing you talk about this is you know, it's like if you hate your job, get an action plan together. But you know, let's go even further here. You know, and I'm speaking to our gender, women, because I work specifically with women. Is we hate our bodies, we hate our lives. We hate because our hair, we hate. I try to be very careful about this. You know, I have so many clients that I can't listen back to I hate my voice. Well, if we're hating this on ourselves, how can you really put your true light out there? Again, now listen, there's going to be days where we show up and who knows, the dog ate the homework or the kid, you know, or we just had an argument with a partner or whatever the case may be. We don't roll 500%. But how, you know, it's embracing, getting through that break. And here's the other thing I talk about too is, you know, I mean, you had a health challenge and I've had one too. You can't see it like yours. You can't see mine as well. But it could be something as simple as driving down the street and getting a flat tire. And our schedules are so damned busy, packed, that our life falls apart to something that can happen, which that happened to me a couple years ago. I was driving my car. I got a flat tire. I've got one dog in the back seat. It's hot. You know, even though I have air conditioning going, I just dropped another dog off and I'm going to a meeting. And I thought, I can drive in this tire. I can get to my meeting, go into the meeting. Then after that, take care of things. But we get into that. Hi, how are you? BUSY, BS. And then when we do have things happen, our lives fall apart. I mean, I'm dealing with aging. I lost my father, my mom. I'm dealing with aging parents. You know, I've got a dog that just turned 10 who's got health issues. But when we're so packed, and and we're like, I get edgy, I get bitchy behind closed doors. And I've got my appointment, and it's like, whoa, what, you know, that's where I have to take a step back. But one thing that I've experienced that a lot of people don't know is many years ago, I lost hearing in my right ear. I have a closed head injury. And I lived in my home for 3 months in severe vertigo. I couldn't move. I could barely walk because I had vertigo so bad. And what I took away from all of that is, first of all, number one, I was moving so fast. I wasn't listening to the signs. I was in a marriage that I wanted out. I was too scared to go do the steps. So this is like the universe going, I'm going to make you listen because you're asking for this. You know, it's that cliche that I always say is people say, ooh, be careful what you ask for. BS. Do not be careful what you ask for. Be crystal clear for what you ask for because it will show up. It will show up. So with all of that, I mean, and that also that hides that beautiful, bold voice of ours when we're on it, you know. It takes us down other avenues where we have no busy traveling down. We need a detour around the other way.
Absolutely. And Kim, you said something really important, and I think that's another lesson as well that I got, but this came a few months after the whole incident. But that whole busyness is not good. I love my schedule the most is when I can look at my week and I see empty slots. I'm like, yes, this is nice. Now, I deliberately design my schedule like this because one of the things that I got, again, from that experience is this word margin. It's so important that we put margin in our lives, that we leave some margin for life to happen. Like you said, Kim, sometimes we're so busy. And prior to my brain tumor, actually, I'm the kind of person, I'm busy. I got things to do. I'm rushing in and out. I like my neighbors. We all get on, I talk to them, but it's kind of quick conversations. After that, I've got time to stop and have a 20-minute talk with my neighbor who's down the road. She's, before I go in from after dropping my kids, because I've created margin in my life deliberately. And I really think that this is that whole part, that the whole idea of really creating a life that you want to live is planning your life around, how do I actually want to live? How do I want to live? What kind of hours do I want to work? You don't have to start work at 9 o'clock and finish at 5. Nobody's making you do that if you're self-employed. Remember, you are the boss. So literally plan the kind of life that you want and then fit your business and everything else around it. And you have so much flow and margin and breathing space and all of that good stuff. So yeah, that's really important.
Yeah, I saw Chris called it cushion time. A lot of people call it, white space, white sheet, white space, leaving white space in your calendar, or just booking off time. In fact, I did that yesterday. I went in my calendar and I took one whole week in August and booked it off for a staycay. I don't know. I might walk into town, sit down, and have lunch by myself, or I may not, or I'll carry it or whatever, because we have such a beautiful patio. But I've never done that. And every year, so several years ago when I owned the internet radio station, that was driving. And I was grinding 365, 24/7, 365, constantly. September would come here and I would literally sit here on Liberty Weekend, the holiday here in the United States, and I would cry because I missed all of because I was so busy sitting here in my office grinding and work. Even though I had a full team, I was grinding. And it's like everyone is commenting, it's just creating those margins. It's, allowing yourself those unlimited times, which, by the way, Lisa, who's on here listening today, she owns a horse, and she invited me out to the barn. I got to meet Teddy, and it was just a day of losing track of time. In the wintertime, it was chilly. We bundled up, and she taught me so much to be around that. We have to have those moments or those afternoons where we can do things to lose track of time so we can come back more refreshed.
Yeah.
And more owning our voices in the way we want to. And that's, that's another thing you just said, Mildred. I don't get this. We own our businesses, ladies. Come on. Why are we not managing the time? Not controlling, but first of all, we're allowing the time to control us and we're not managing it. Why are we not managing the time? I just don't get this.
Yeah.
You're the bit. You don't have someone saying, brick and mortar, 9 to 5, get your butt in the car and drive, or 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 8 to 7, get your butt online and, and log in. We own this, so create it. And for those there are a couple of women on here on the call today that are not entrepreneurs, they are in corporate, and we need you in corporate, shattering those ceilings and leading the way and showing up very boldly. We need that. We do need that. But we also maintain those boundaries in corporate as well, and don't have to always say yes for, God forbid, fear of losing jobs or whatever the case may be. We can always maintain those no's and those boundaries.
Yeah, absolutely. It's your life. Literally, it's whether it's your business life or your corporate life, it's your life, and you only get this one shot at life. You have to design it your own way. And it is possible to design a life while you're working for somebody else. Like I said, I deliberately didn't. Only one time in my career did I actually work a 5-day week. But even then, I never did a 9 to 5. I would come in at 10 sometimes, maybe leave at 6, or I start at 12 on separate days, because I wanted to have that freedom to live the kind of life that I wanted to live. So, and I believe that we should all try and do that, whether it's in your job or whether it's in corporate, but in business especially, we get taught, most of us go into business with the same mindset we've had as employees, so it's like, okay, this is how you clock off, clock in, clock off, or we go in with the hustle mindset. You have to grind all the time and work. Do you know one thing I actually like doing for fun, right? Because I have a time tracker called Toggle. I use the app. It's a free app. So cool. And I like to set myself a challenge to work no more than 30 hours a week. I aim for 30 hours of work a week. So last week I did 23 hours. I was like, oh my God, how exciting. So yeah, it's like I'm still getting stuff done, but I'm getting life done as well in between. I'm flowing, I'm at more peace, I get to see people, and I have the same income, even more income than when I was trying to grind and work every hour given on earth. So honestly, it works. Plan your life, then put your business into it, and it will work.
Remove that grind work out of our vocabulary, ladies, and get into some grit and grace, but removing that grind word, because we don't have to grind to get to where we are at. That grind word for me personally, and I've experienced this, that grind work is attached to burnout, the adrenal frying, the just that lack of creativity, all of that. So it's lay it down. I mean, again, if you want to book off Fridays, go book off Fridays. It's your I mean, I stay off of the social media on the weekends. The weekends are, I'm doing other things. I'm no offense to everybody, but I'll see you on Monday, and if you really need me, you'll send me a private message of sorts and I will respond. But that's just one of the things it's like closing the doors to my office. It's time out. I need a break, and I grinded when I had the radio station. I will not go back into that grind. I'm 61, and which, by the way, that's the other thing. Back to I was saying, how we women, as a gender, look into the mirror. I don't like this role. I don't like this cellulite. I hate my body. I hate this. The other thing, and Wendy, who is on here today, who's got an Amazeballs podcast, Reinvention Rebels. She's all about midlife and embracing midlife. And it's not anti-aging. Wendy, you taught me these words. It's not anti-aging, because our commercials are all, buy this cream for anti-aging, do this for anti-aging. It's like, why the hell are we fighting aging? Why are we not embracing this? And it's pro-aging. Ladies, for those of you who are on this call who are in midlife, and I'm one that's in midlife, it's pro-aging and it's embracing life. It's embracing all of this as opposed to grinding and fighting. Grinding and fighting.
I love it.
Grit and grace. All right, Mildred, what would you like to leave us with? Give us some of those. Give us some bold, beautiful words of yours. Anything more you would like to say?
Both beautiful words. I think I've got on my what is it that we call it here in Trafalgar Square? The word escapes me, but I've got on my pulpit. Enough about this. But I think I am really, 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 really passionate about people, women especially, just kind of taking charge of your life. I'm really creating the life that you want and the life that you want to live, around your work, around your business, really doing that. It took me a long time. And like you, Kim, I've experienced burnout, in my earlier grinding days. I had one of the worst ones I had 3 days straight where I was like, I had what was called a head cold. Apparently the doctor diagnosed 3 days straight. I could not get out of bed, just pounding headache. This was about 15 years ago. So probably one of the early signs of later tumor, who knows, whatever, but it is just not worth it. And it's scary because you're kind of going against the grain of popular advice and what you're told to do in terms of grind, hustle. I like your grit and grace thing, Kim, flowing in that grace, really kind of thinking, what is it? What do I want to do with my life? How do I want to live my life? Who do I want to serve? And really being intentional about that. It's so key. And I think, as you said, Kim, one of the things, a lot of the things that's helped me is I'm big on books. I read a lot. I read a lot and I invest. I probably spend more on books than I do on shoes or clothes or anything like that. Yes, I am a little bit of a bookworm, but it's like really tapping into personal development and learning and growing and paying for things that will grow you. Investing in yourself, in your mind, is the best thing that you can do, because you can look back at your life from today, a year from now. I think there's a saying, you'll be the same today as in 5 years, except for the people you meet and the books you read. But if you literally start investing in yourself and in personal development, it can take like something as short as a year, and your life could be in a completely different place when you're intentional about it. So really being intentional, put in boundaries for work and for fun. For me, Friday and Saturday nights are my Netflix nights.
Popcorn. With popcorn.
Yeah, mine is not popcorn. Mine is rich tea biscuits with a cup of coffee dunked. I am such a granny.
I love dunking. Oh, I'm a dunker. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, that is me. That is me on Friday and Saturday nights with Netflix, if there's anything decent on Netflix. If not, it's Amazon Prime, But it's really protecting those boundaries, because I am also a mom and I'm also a wife, but my family understand that for me to be the best version of me, I need that me time on a regular basis, weekly basis, and a new thing I've started doing is once a month now, I have solar CEO retreats, at the end of the month, where I just take the time out and just plan the business, strategize, kind of have an oversight over what I'm doing, and then come back down to earth and implement it for the rest of the month. So yeah, but just look up what works for you and implement it into your own life, create those margins, have those boundaries, and live the life that you want today, because tomorrow is not promised.
Yes, absolutely. Tomorrow is not promised, and you never know. And it could be something I don't know if this is simple, but is driving down the street and getting a flat tire. And that was not a simple day for me, because I'll tell you what, that was a very costly day, but it can happen. And it's allowing the white space and the padded cushions in our schedules, just because. Block off just because. You don't have to have a reason why, and you don't have to explain yourself why. But yes, absolutely. I'm going to leave a couple of things here with everybody. And courage gives us a voice, and compassion gives us an ear. That's by Brene Brown. I'm madly in love with Brene Brown. If anybody knows her, I want to meet her. And before I wrap this up, and thank you, Mildred, I've been saying this, using this at the end of every show. Be bold enough to listen to your heart, and more so to follow it. Your heart has always known exactly who you are, what you are made of, and what you are made for. Your heart has always known that you were meant for so much more, and that you deserve to live free, feeling free. Start listening to your heart. It has always known the way, and that is by walk the earth. So ladies, start listening to you. Don't even feel that heart. Feel and then listen, and stay out of your head. Mildred, where can we get in touch with you besides here on LinkedIn?
Hey, of course, find me on LinkedIn. If we're not connected already, let's connect. Let's make it happen. Send me a message. And if you want to be more visible on LinkedIn, I would love to invite you to join Visible Women Tribe. This is our community of women. Kim is in the tribe. She is awesome, and a lot of the ladies in the comments are in there and they're awesome. But this is our community of businesswomen who want to be seen, heard, and remembered. So we're all about making impact, making legacy, putting ourselves forward at the forefront of our business, So come and join us at visiblewomentribe.com. That would be the website to come and find us on. So love to have you.
Come into the tribe. Come into the tribe. And ladies, all of you that have been commenting today, showed up to support both Mildred and I, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. Make sure you are all connected. You see these names on LinkedIn here. Make sure you are all connected. And if you're not involved with the tribe, I hope to see you over in the tribe, because Mildred has got some fun things going. We have fun, but it's also a lot of personal and professional development going on over there as well. So Mildred, okay, first of all, before we end this, I always say show up to the best, like we were saying in the show today, to the best of your ability. I want you all to know what Mildred did to get to this show today. It was getting Mel to come home a little earlier to help out with the girls and throwing their dinners down, and then and then he's taking them to their dance lessons so Mildred can be, and it's like coming in right at the very last minute, which, by the way, it's not a big deal because both Mildred and I are professionals. We're used to these interviews. If you're showing up 5 minutes before, absolutely, it was fine. But I want you to know everything that Mildred was doing. We all go through that. You know what I mean? I can remember a couple times walking on a show, and in the hallway there, as I'm getting ready to log on live, my dog is vomiting. Oh, well, it's going to stay there until I get done. We do show up, ladies. Just show up and give us those bold and beautiful, bright voices that you all own. Don't worry about what other people are thinking. Don't worry about if your I's are dotted, T's are crossed, and you're into that perfection mode. By all means, no. We want to hear it. We want to feel it. We want to be inspired by it. So, Mildred, thank you.
Thank you so much, Kim. It has been wonderful having this conversation with you. And thank you, everybody tuned in. You guys are awesome. Thank you all.
Everyone go make it a great day. See you all later.
Bye.